Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Two Psychics No Limits, a channel where Tamalla and I are sharing our own life experiences, but also topics that are not yet commonly accepted or spoken about, and we want to make it as comfortable as possible for people to share. And it is actually quite normal when we are dealing with, not so nice things in life experiences. But we are also talking about other things that is for our own interest, at least the topics that we think is interesting for to talk about and share with you, and hopefully they are informative. And today we're going to talk about contamination of the second chakra. It is something that Tamalla shared in our last video, the one about the collective consciousness work behind the scenes. And I found it very interesting actually that you mentioned it, because I've never heard of a contaminated second chakra. So I thought I want to learn something more about this. And I'm going to ask them a lot of questions.
Hey.
I know Tamalla and Zed, they are like beautiful, good teachers. So, I'm always very happy to, to get the information, and I hope you listeners as well. I would like to give a short introduction about myself. My name is Cindy, and I am an energetic stepping and wholeness counselor. I work together with Spirit, mainly with my own team, Carla, who are here to work on our self-awareness, self-consciousness, because as soon as we are self-conscious of what we are doing, we are able to choose what we are going to do. Either choose the history or choose something else and create a new future for ourselves. And I also work together with famous celebrities from the 1930s, 1960s, such as Marilyn Monroe, Ava Gardner, Judy Garland, Elizabeth Taylor. And also they are here to share their own life experiences, because they have made choices that have not been that healthy. And they would like to share what kind of effect it has on their life and on their close surroundings. And this way they would like to help us as well, saying actually, like, please choose something else than what we have done in our lives. Yes, and then I also work together with my 4 crystals, offering sacred crystal sound treatments. And it is a method to relax, rebalance, and re-energize your body and your mind. And I'm doing this in person, but I can also now offer this on distance, so it doesn't really matter where you are. I can still find you and offer this treatment to you. Yeah, so that is actually what I do. Tamalla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Awesome. Hi, my name is Tamalla Malay. I am your empowerment priestess. I'm a psychic channel, and I work with Zed, which is a group of higher vibrational beings who live on the edges of expansiveness. And they are teaching us about living a congruent life, which is how we elevate into 5D, and also how we are able to manifest and create at the physical level, because it's all about congruence. I also channel Archangels Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and I have a council of light, which includes lots of amazing beings. And one of them that is with us today is Kali Ma. So she's going to be helping us as we talk about the contamination of the second chakra. So that's important. I'm also an Akashic Records clearer. I'm a body and soul aligner. I'm an empowerment teacher and coach. I'm an ordained shamanic Magdalene high priestess. And basically I'm a spiritual midwife. Right? I help you birth your spirit into your body and align everything so it's working the way that it's supposed to work, so that you can create the life you came here to have. So, woohoo!
Woo, beautiful.
So we want to, and I'm really feeling Kali strong today. I don't know if anybody else is. I did another video earlier today on my Facebook channel about distractions, the paradigm of distractions, and Kali is all about that. And right now, about clearing through, getting rid of, ripping out all of that bullshit and that stuff that has been placed as a distraction in front of us. Things, oh, look here, look here, look here, when truth is really happening elsewhere. right? It's those things that are keeping us distracted. And one of those things is the contamination of the second chakra. So for those of you who don't know a lot about, sorry, I got something sticky on me. For those of you who don't know a lot about the second chakra, it is, we number our chakras from the bottom up. So the first chakra is your root chakra. It's going to be, it's going to be in your perineum, right? It's literally, you know, at the bottom of your line of your body, right? Now we do have 0 chakras, which are in our feet. One is at that root chakra, which is in your perineum, and your second chakra is around your navel area. Now the chakras are in a channel that go up through your body, next to your spinal cord. They're not part of your spinal cord. When I check in, mine is, sometimes it's on the inside of my spinal cord, closer to the center of my body. And sometimes it's on the outside of my spinal cord. And so when that happens, I know I have to realign. So what you want to do is you want to get familiar with where your channel is, so that you know when you're kind of out of sorts. Now our chakras spin certain ways and they do all this kind of stuff, but we're not going to go into all of that today. We're going to talk about the second chakra, navel chakra, is also called the sacral. And for me, that means sacred. It means important. It means really super powerful, integrous, honorable stuff, right? Anything is not those things can cause damage to your second chakra. Now, our second chakra helps us with sex, money, creation, manifestation, and children. And we'll go through and talk about them individually with the contaminations. But it's important for us to know that when I say sex, it's not sexual preference, it's not sexual orientation, it's not whether or not you're into BDSM or kinky stuff, or whether you're a virgin or abstinent or any of that, okay? It's about how you use your own personal sexual energy to create and manifest in the third dimension, because that's how it works, right? I've still got something sticky on me. I'm a mother. Spit helps everything, right? So that's so funny. So with the second chakra and sex, it's about your own sexual energy and using that to fuel your life, right? Some people think that you should hold on to your sexual energy, and that you, even when you're sexually stimulated, whether you're with yourself or another person, that you shouldn't have an orgasm, because if you have an orgasm, then you dissipate your energy. And that may be true for some people. For me, it's the opposite. When I hold on to my sexual energy, it diminishes it, and it actually puts my fire out. So what works for me is to have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of really awesome orgasms, whether I'm by myself or with someone else, because it stimulates not only my physical body, right, through an orgasm, but it stimulates my creativity, my ability to manifest, my ability to create new things, and my ability to birth those new things that I'm trying to bring into my experience. So like when I say children, it's not just about physical children, right? Sons and daughters. It's also about those things in your life that you want to birth into your experience, like a program for your clients, or a new house for yourself, or a relationship with a beloved, right? All of those things are also held and fueled and nurtured in your second chakra. So are you with me so far? Do you have any questions?
So far, I'm good. Yes.
Awesome. So the contamination of the second chakra is something that began with Adam. And I don't know if y'all been following any of my own prior posts where I've talked about how when Adam was inserted into the earth plane, that shifted from the matriarchal into the patriarchal, right? Adam became the head of the family. He became the head of the religion. He became the head of everything. Even though Eve was supposedly taken as a rib to stand beside him, Eve was never given that proximity. She was never given equality, right? It was always the man is above, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of those opposites, right? And it was part of the contamination. We're going to tell you you're equal, but then we're going to tell you what you can do with your body, with your mind, with your resources. You know, for thousands of years, women were not allowed to own property. They were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to be independent or autonomous. They were actually chattel, which means they were the personal property of their husband. And so that was all a lie. And that began that contamination of the second chakra, especially for females, because the idea that women can't earn money then is a huge disempowerment for them to be able to create the life they want, right? If I have to have a husband in order to own property or to get credit, to buy a house, to feed myself or my children, right? Or to even be allowed to have children, then that is a total disempowerment of me as an individual. And that is how the contamination of the second chakra came into the earth plane, is through all of that. Now, how it shows up for us is we have the paradigms in the planet that women are subservient to men, right? They can't ask for sex. And if they do, they're a slut, right? They can't make more money than their husband because then they're, a greedy bitch. They can't create and manifest things because then they're also greedy bitches, right? And they can't have children without a man because then they're having a household without a male influence, which is going to contaminate the children, right? All of these paradigms are made up. They're bullshit. And they're designed to disempower the feminine, which is designed by creation to be the creative energy. The feminine is the creator. It is the birther. It is the bringer of light. And the masculine is the one who supports that, who surrounds that, who protects that, who honors that, right? But it's the feminine that is the powerhouse. And we've gotten away from that through that contamination. They contaminated sex with inappropriate sex. Meaning sex through violence, through taking someone else's ability to choose, right? Through rape, through incest, through child sexual abuse, through all of the contaminations and the defilement of the sacred energy of sex. Now, if you're two adults and you decide that both of you are very happy with rough play, that's totally different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about using sex as a way to take power away from someone else, right? That's a contamination. And with the Me Too movement that's happening right now, especially in the US, and I think in other places in the world, that shield, right? Because it's happened for thousands of years and we've just ignored it. We have said, oh, well, that's because men have all the power. Well, that's not true. Men have all the power because we gave it to them, because we bought into the lies and we bought into the paradigm, right? But all of that paradigm is being shifted right now. And it's being shifted into the understanding that male and female are equal. The female is the creator or the creatrix, and the masculine is the partner to make that creation function and be protected and be honored and integrous, right? So it is a partnership, but both parties are equal. Now, the contamination of money, huge, 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 huge. Wait, I should stop. Do you have any questions on this next one?
No, I have. Not sure if it is something related. There's something you mentioned, and then a question came up because I had a very nice conversation with one of my friends, and we were talking about, you know, how we are doing as women, and then we both had the same feeling, as in, like, we women really have to work hard, and that is something that we both felt. So we were wondering, is it something that is coming from the second chakra? When you said, like, there's the feminine energies, like, is that why we as women feel like we have to work very hard to get things done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the creation and manifestation contamination, right? When women are in the flow, we're in the flow of our bodies, right? With our menstrual cycles, with our moon cycles, with the cycle of water that's in our bodies. The flow, the way that we cycle energy and intuition through our senses. When we're in that flow, everything works really well for us and we don't have to work hard. But that's not the earthly paradigm, right? Since Adam came in, everything has been about pain and struggle, right? About blaming the woman, right? The Adam and Eve saying that woman ate the apple, contaminated, they got thrown out, now it's her fault, now she's got to suffer, right? That's the paradigm. Well, that is how women have done. They've been the one doing all the work, the struggling, the taking care of the home, birthing the babies. And the paradigm in the US has been when the wife started to work, right? She still had to take care of the house, do all the cooking, all the cleaning, taking all the care of the children and working. And the husband was just working, right? But then on top of that, the paradigm was the man is supporting the family. So he has to make a whole lot more money than a woman doing the same job because the man has to support the family. Well, and in reality, the women are also supporting their family, right? But yeah, that's been hidden. It's been like, duh, we don't want to address that. And so we're shifting out of all of this stuff. It's coming up. We're feeling it viscerally. We're feeling it in our body and our experience so that we can say, no, I don't choose that anymore. That's bullshit. That may have been the way that we used to do it, but it's not true. 5D is not about that, right? 5D is about everything flowing together in unison and in cooperation and partnership, right? It's not a one up, one down. The male's not better. The female's not better. It's about cooperation. So did that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
So the money thing, we kind of touched on this, but the awareness that two people can do the exact same job and whether or not they have a penis will determine how much they get paid for it, right?
It's crazy.
Crazy. It's crazy. But it's been inserted into the planet, and that's worldwide, right? And that also is coming up, and it's like, well, this is bullshit. This is not acceptable. This is wrong. Now, I want to say here, all of this stuff is coming up because it's time for it to be transformed, right? The paradigm is breaking apart. And those of us that have clarity and awareness are helping to break it apart. It's not going to go down easy, okay? Just because we know it's wrong, to shift a paradigm means that you have to have more people on the new paradigm than are on the old paradigm. So it's 50% plus one. And that's going to take a whole lot of work, because there are a lot of people, there are a lot of women who still buy into the old paradigm that a woman is less than, that she has to have a man, that the man is the decision maker, right? All of the man is the head of the spiritual community in the house, right? That the man is the one that's in charge of the finances, that the man is the breadwinner, that the man is the one who has to be the pastor of the church, right? There are women who still believe that. So it's going to take a lot of work for us to really get in and understand, and it's our own personal work. Because as we do the personal work, like we talked about before, we do our personal work, then we help change everything that's outside of us, right? The communities. But it's not going to go silently. It's not going to go easily. It's going to look like struggle. And it's going to be struggle, and it's going to look like and feel like a struggle for dominance, because that's exactly what it is. And it's always been a dominance. And once we as individuals get to the point, at least 50% plus one, get to the point where we don't feed that dominance anymore, and we don't feed that old paradigm of one up, one down anymore, and we don't buy into it, and we speak up when it shows up, and we say, no, that's not okay, then that is what's going to shift the paradigm. But as long as we keep playing along, it's going to stay here. And it's going to be struggle, and we're going to have to fight it, because the fighting is also what it requires. What the one up, one down requires. It requires combat, right, for it to stay in place. If you just let go and you go, no, I'm not playing that game anymore. I don't play that game anymore. And each opportunity you have to fall into that game, you go, nope, not for me. I'm not doing it. You're not fighting with it. You're just not accepting it. And that's where your power is. As long as we continue to battle it and combat, it keeps the fire and the intensity and the emotion, it keeps giving it life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And when we say, no, not for me, it dies for us. And once it dies for us, then we can start feeding and fueling and nourishing what does work for us, which is this equality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't really like the word fight. So when I hear somebody, who's using the word fight, I'm like, well, for me, it is like a low vibration word.
Right.
But you're saying like, you're fueling it instead of like accepting and saying like, no, this is not what I accept. I choose a different direction.
Yeah. And you can always tell whether you're feeding something or not are you having an emotional response? If you're having an emotional response, whether it's a positive emotional response or one that you would deem a negative emotional response, it doesn't matter. You're still feeding the thing, because that's how we feel things, is through our emotions. We think about them. Okay. We make them, we identify them. We click in and say, okay, is this a possibility? Then we feel it. We give that possibility fuel, and it gets bigger, and then we act on it, and that makes it real for us. That's how we manifest in our life, no matter what it is. And so if we stop fighting, stop wrestling, stop struggling, now I'm not saying give in. Don't accept somebody else raping you. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is acknowledging that that is the past, and that you don't choose that in your life anymore. And as long as we stay connected to our victimhood, which a lot of women have a lot of victim energy, a lot of martyr energy. And as long as we stay connected to that energy, we're not going to be equals, because a victim and a martyr's down here is heavy energy. And Yes, a bunch of shit happened. Yes, it was unfair. Yes, it was cruel. Yes, it was evil, right? Yes. Acknowledge it and say, I don't choose that for me anymore. And then start really focusing your thoughts and your emotions and your actions on what you do prefer.
Yeah, because this way you keep the power within you, right? With you. Just like what you are teaching, the self-empowerment. Because with fighting, you're viewing something else, and then at the end you're exhausted and you do not know why. You were like, yeah, but I fought very hard for a cause, you know. But you don't feel enriched or you don't feel energized by it because you have given away something from yourself, instead of saying like, hey guys, you know, this has been the past for me, I'm going to choose something else, and you keep the power with you, which makes you feel so much more empowered because it is it is empowerment, no?
Yes.
Yay, got it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're having some issues with your second chakra, it can show up with either in men or women with sexual issues, with a low libido, with difficulty in reproduction, right? In having children, male or female, doesn't matter. It can show up as an issue with money, either inability to create money, inability to hold on to money, right? It can also show up as an inability to create things, like to be artistic, to be creative, because even if we're not artists, we still create things. We have to have some kind of creative thing because that's what makes us alive, right? My beloved is an engineer. He's not an artist, but he creates things. He puts things together and makes things work, right? That is very creative. He also loves restoring our house, renovating our house. That's very creative. His process that he goes through is very creative, right? I love to paint. That's something that if I'm not doing on a consistent basis, I start getting depressed, literally depressed, because I'm not expressing my second chakra creativity, which is birthing something in the world like a painting, right? And there'll be times where I will go through a spell and I will paint 100 paintings over a couple of weeks because it's just like pouring out of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I may go for 2 or 3 months and not paint at all. And then I start really feeling bad. It's like, okay, I need to create something, even if I just crochet something, or I do a watercolor, or anything. I've got to do something to create something outside of me, because that fuels that creativity to be able to attract money, to be able to attract positive sexual experiences, to be able to birth those things in my experience that I want to have, right? I have lots of programs that I offer people because they're my babies, right? My physical babies are grown. I'm a grandmama. I'm a nana. And so far I have 3 grandbabies, and they'll probably have some more. And that's a wonderful thing. But I also have the babies of my programs and the people who are participating in those programs who are learning how to empower themselves. And so that's also a very huge aspect of my own second chakras, to be able to create those and offer them to the world and have people participate in them, because it gives them life, right? And it's the same for all of us. We have to have things that we're creating, but then we also have to have things that we're manifesting, because creating something is creating, and you manifest it into the experience, right? You paint a picture and it's there. You take some manifestation is taking something that doesn't exist in your experience and having it inserted and manifest into your experience. Okay, that's what manifesting is. You take something that's not in your experience and you put it in there. Okay, so that's a really complicated thing. I teach, a 6-month program on that. But when our second chakra is not working, when our second chakra is contaminated, we can't do that. We have the same relationships that keep coming around like over and over. It's like, why do I keep dating the same damn guy, right? Or the same woman? I have a type. Well, it's because you haven't changed what you're manifesting. You're still manifesting the same old thing. And that's the contamination too, because the idea in the world is it's your past, it's an excuse, it's blame something else, it's not your fault, right? You just have to deal with it. It's your hand that you got played, right? All of that stuff, which is totally disempowering. Instead of, this is how you manifest, and let's start helping you figure out how to bring that into your experience, right? Which is what my life's work is about. Manifestation, if you can't manifest, you're also having difficulty in your second chakra, and you need to know that. And so if you're having trouble with sex, money, creation, manifestation, or children, and children is also birthing ideas, understand that you need to support your second chakra really well. It can show up. You can have physical experiences of difficulty in digestion, constipation. You can have ovarian cysts. You can have polyps. You can have trouble maintaining or obtaining or maintaining an erection. You can have difficulty with premature ejaculation. You can have like all of these things here that are belly button level, right? Anything that's inside this belly button level. You can have difficulties with your bladder, with your kidneys, right? So if those things are happening in your experience, you really want to stop and say, wait a minute. What's wrong with my sex, money, creation, manifestation, or children, right? Am I ignoring my own sexual needs, right? Am I struggling with money? Am I still believing the old paradigms about the man has to make the money, right? Or the man's in charge, right? And you really want to get into and understand where you are, because what you're resonating with, what you believe, is showing up for you as a physical response. And it shows up for you as a physical response so that you'll go, hey, wait a minute. I got an issue here. Let's examine where that issue may be so I can change it, right? That's why our body gives us physical responses. We haven't been taught that. And so that's also part of the contamination, is where we haven't been taught that that's what it's about. So you can insert orange, whether it's oranges, right? The fruit oranges. You can use essential oils and diffuse them. You can get, I have this amazing citrine that I keep by my bed.
Oh, beautiful.
And I also have a bunch of citrine pieces in my store that I sell too. They're wonderful to have near you and around you. You can wear orange clothes. I have t-shirts in every color, every chakra color. And depending on what I want support with during the night when I go to bed, I will sometimes choose one of those colors and sleep in that t-shirt. And so I'm going to get, I'm going to kind of nourish myself during the night with whatever resonance that it is that I need. So you can make art with your color. You can do, with the orange color, you can do whatever. But it's really about you being clear and aware of where you have contaminated your second chakra, because nothing is about anybody else. It's what you have. Other people may talk about it, but you had to believe it, right? Now, there are people who have been victims of terrible experiences, and we're not going to go into a lot of that today, but those are also experiences that happen because they were attracted into your experience. So what you want to do is you want to acknowledge that they happened. You want to offer yourself forgiveness. You want to offer forgiveness to the other person if you can. And if you can't, that's okay. Get the help that you need. And then you want to say, how do I want my future to be? And start focusing on that. I want good sexual relationships. I want to feel love. I want to feel appreciated. And all of those things, now pay attention, all of those things have to come from you first. You have to love you first. You have to completely appreciate you first. Because as you're doing that, as you're resonating with that, you're going to attract other people into your experience who will love you and appreciate you, because you love and appreciate you. It's the only way it works. It cannot work any other way. Mm-hmm. So, what are your thoughts?
Beautiful. Thank you very much for giving all this information. Because when you mentioned like the physical things coming up, I recognize it with my clients. I've got women with either with cysts on ovaries, cannot digest, do not go regularly to the toilet, or something else on the ovaries. There's something going on. So I think it is important to know that this all manifests in a way which has to do with the second chakra, and that we have to look into that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and anyone who's having, because our chakras also, they kind of bleed into each other, right? My printer just shut off. Sorry about the noise. So the solar plexus is the one above that. And so that's also where the tummy starts, right? So if somebody's having digestion issues, you want to look at the third and the second, right? Because is it coming from their stomach, or is it all the way down? And third chakra is all about yourself, about how you feel about yourself, about your authenticity, about your personal power, about your self-esteem, all of that. And so and the kidneys too, the kidneys and the bladder, they also can be third chakra. So and they're very linked. All of our chakras work together, and they all have been contaminated by the paradigm of Adam that was inserted. They all were, because otherwise, if they all were working the way they were designed to work before Adam, and the way they're designed to work as we elevate into 5D, we wouldn't have drugged this whole Adam thing out all this long time. It would have been a quick thing.
Yeah.
But it came in and it dismantled us from the top down, literally.
Awesome.
And as it dismantled us from the top down, and we go into the zero chakra, which is our feet, they also are dismantling Mother Earth. And we know that about all the oil drilling, all the fracking, all the water poisoning, all of the contaminating the oceans. All of those things are happening as well. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to stop those too.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. There was one other thing that my friend and I were discussing, and we both feel that because we are both in like the spiritual work. We had like, not sure if it has to do with the second chakra, but maybe you can shine a light on it. Like afraid to come out with what we are doing? Is it something as well related to like the feminine energies, or to the or the second chakra? How do you see that?
It all depends on what the work is.
Yeah.
First and second, like everything. And here's the truth. All of our chakras are involved in everything. It's just one is going to be the lead. Okay. So if the thing that you're having trouble shining your light with, you got to figure out why. Is it because you're afraid? Okay, I'm fearful. Okay, fear is, it can be at any of the chakras. So you got to find out, what is it you're afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of being judged for speaking my truth. Well, that's going to be fifth chakra. That's speaking your truth. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my ability to make money. That's going to be second chakra. I'm afraid my family's going to disown me. Well, that's going to be first chakra, right? It really depends on what it is that the why, right? It depends on the why about where it is. Is that helpful?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to go back to our last video where you said, like, you gave an example as the, about the heart desires. You mentioned like the pedophiles. You gave it as an example. Pedophiles do not have the heart desire to do this because they have a contaminated second chakra. So my question is, do you have the feeling that people who are having a second chakra, the contamination, do you have the feeling that they are, I think maybe it is not even a question to ask, but anyway, do you have the feeling that they think that they are doing this and this all right? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Do you have the feeling that...
Here's what we understand, and science has proven this, and what we know about ourselves is we only do the things we agree to do. Even if we're doing them at somebody else's will, right? If we submit to a boss, or we submit to a husband, or we submit to, the societal thing, we're agreeing to it, right? And pedophiles and people who abuse other people, right? Who use their power to hurt others are doing it because they agree to it. They choose it. Now, when they're choosing it, are they choosing it from this contamination, from this place of separation from their true self? Or are they choosing it because it feels like it's part of their divinity? Those are two different questions. Most of the time, no, we're going to make choices. We want to make choices that feel good to us, right? And if we have a contaminated chakra, our feel good is going to be contaminated, right? A pedophile feels good while they're abusing children. They feel good. They have a sexual response to it, but it's because their second chakra has been contaminated. If they're aligned with their divine nature, that would not be a pleasurable experience for them. And it's interesting. Do they know it's wrong? Some do. The ones who have regret know it's wrong. The ones who feel terrible about it know it's wrong. But we all know there are people out there who do it, who don't think it's wrong, who don't think there's anything wrong with it. And so I think it's the level of contamination, right? It's kind of like I'm seeing a picture of a bomb dropping, or an atomic bomb dropping on a village, right? And there are certain people who get annihilated right away, right? And so they have no ability to discern whether something's right or wrong, because they're just completely just fried, right? And then the further away you go, the less contaminated people are. So there are people who have been abused who turn into abusers. They were closer to that explosion. They were closer to the radiation, right? They were bigger contaminated. But chances are, because they've had that contamination or a similar resonance in a previous life, they've had it more than once. And then there are people who are less close, who maybe were abused, and they try to abuse somebody else and it doesn't feel good. And they're like, no, 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 I don't want to do this, right? And then there are people who are further back from that, who were abused, who go, I'm never going to treat anybody like this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And so we do have to remember that we have our past lives where we create karma and we create energetic entanglements, and we create these issues that when we come back into our experience, we have to deal with those or resolve them. And when we put ourselves in that situation again, we can either magnify the radiation, right? Or we can distance ourselves from it by making different choices. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Thanks. Yeah. Let me see if I have another question. So oh yeah, there's something that I actually read before we did this video. There was a line on the internet that I saw that, like, it says here, as the second chakra becomes weaker, the amount of fear that is repressed increases, and the desire to alleviate the fear through sexual activity increases. In addition, the overactive second chakra mind is attracted to perversions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's closer to the radiation, right? Because you also, and when our chakras are out of sorts, our chakras are directly connected to our mind and to our emotions. And so when our chakras are out of alignment, out of sorts, if they're damaged or contaminated or misaligned, that affects how we think about or how we feel about that particular chakra. Mm-hmm. So I like that they called it the chakra mind, because that's really true. And read it again. I thought it was really important.
The entire thing, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
As the second chakra becomes weaker, the amount of fear that is repressed increases, and the desire to alleviate the fear through sexual activity increases. Mm-hmm. In addition, the overactive second chakra mind is attracted to perversions.
Yeah. And so you can fear, we talked about this, you can fear any of them, any of the chakras. But if you're fearing and maybe this will make sense, the lower we go down in the chakra system, the more animalistic we are. The more, what's the word? I don't have the word right now, but the more basic we are. Like root chakra, the first one, is all about survival. It's all about family. It's all about fitting in, right? And being acknowledged by society, having food, clothing, and shelter, right? That's first chakra. Second chakra is then around making that existence better, right? Enjoying sex, enjoying money, enjoying creation and manifestation, right? And then we move into third chakra. Oh, we've created and manifested stuff. We have money. Now we can have some self-actualization, right? Where we start to feel good about ourselves, right? Then the fourth one is where we move into our heart, where, okay, we have all this stuff. We love ourselves. We have good self-esteem. So now we can love other people, right? And so that's how it works as we go up the chakra system. And the idea that any of them can be perverted is true. And the idea that fear can influence any of them is true.
Mm.
And that's why you have to be willing to do your own shadow work and to go in and say, what causes this? Where did it come from? Do I want this? What am I willing to do to change it? And that's vital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it gives a completely different, not a different, but like a more depth perspective on like how fear is, what kind of effect it has on us.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in the mind,
Right.
like on all chakras, and how important it is to clear this and look at our own shadows. Because looking at our shadows is not always very nice. There's something that we want to, just like, oh, let's close the door.
Right. Well, and it takes courage.
Yeah.
It takes courage.
Mm.
Be courageous. I've got this, this is a card that I drew for myself a few weeks ago, and I've got it here on my desk because it's all about courage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It gives more importance to the job that we have to do as human beings on ourselves to clear as many blocks or, fear or anything that we have, the lower vibration, emotions,
Mm-hmm.
to clear this.
Yeah.
Because we are also being fed from the outside world, from the external world.
Mm-hmm.
How people talk to us. Be careful if you don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
Are we being attacked because of blah blah? And then everybody's like, oh yeah, I need to defend myself. And then you go into the defensive mode, but you're saying like the first chakra, family is important, I need to keep myself safe, I need to survive.
Mm-hmm.
If there is fear, it is like, yeah, to me, it gives a completely different perspective now on all the things, because it becomes more complex,
Mm-hmm.
more interesting for me.
Yeah.
But the whole story is now becoming more complex.
Yeah. And we can use any of our chakras as a weapon or as a way to heal ourselves and others. Either way.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your insight.
You're welcome. I hope it's a blessing to everyone.
Yeah,
And
I
it
hope so too.
encourages you to think and to say, how am I doing this? How's it showing up for me?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody has their own shadows. I have had my own shadows. I had to look at those as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not something that you, most of the times, you don't really do that with pleasure, This.
I visit with my shadow all the time. It has to be part of your awareness that it's there, because otherwise it'll start circumventing what it is that you want to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And otherwise, you're also not able to move forward, right? If we're not looking at our shadows and transform it into something positive, we are not able to move forward. It's not as in your own, like as in a human being, but also as a whole global,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit lost of words.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
On a global scale.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more people who are doing this, we will become the 50% plus one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can start shifting things and move paradigms. It's not that we have to use this with anger.
Right.
I was saying like with fighting, like, oh, I will just take the example of what you mentioned, as in that female or women do not earn so much or not as much as the men. Yes, we can object to it. We can be angry about it, and we can fight against it. But if that will, okay, in some cases it does has a big impact. But there's also something within us that we have to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Because when there is something in us that's saying like, yeah, I would like to have the same salary as a man, but at the same time when you think like, well, maybe I'm not even worth it, then there's the whole contradiction.
Right.
Because then you're not able to receive it.
Right. That's where the shadow comes in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. Before I close the video, is there anything that you would like to add?
I would say have a meeting with your chakras. Sit down and do a journaling, right? Get a page on your journal and go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Okay, what do y'all have to talk to me about, right? And just start writing stuff down. Don't edit it. Don't limit what you're writing. Just start writing and say, how do I feel about this, right? And what would I like to do different? That's a great starting point.
And I think also when you're saying, like, when you write about it, there's not too much thinking involved. It's what at least that's from my side. If you start to think about it, then you are like, I'm not really so sure, but things will pop up anyway. You can ask maybe even like out loud, or when you read a sentence, first chakra, what is it that you would like to tell me, if you're looking up what, the first chakra stands for. The things are coming up anyway, and that is what I think what is beautiful about the body system that we have. Things are coming to the surface, and if you have written that thing down, then something else pops up, and then you're like, oh, also that, and then more and more and more, and then you were like, I'm overloaded. Is there an end? I had a discussion with a friend of mine, who I also help, and she was like, she wrote to me saying, hey, this and this and this came up also, and then this and this and this. So she keeps sending me like an update of how she's doing, so I can follow her progress, and she keeps me up to date what is coming up. And then I said, you do very well, because it is exactly what the body does. If you have addressed one thing, written it down somewhere, you have processed it, because now you became aware of what happened in the past, and then the body says like, oh, but there's another thing. You don't even have to do any or much effort for it. It comes by up by itself. And I think maybe, that is my personal opinion, that I think maybe that this is confusing for people, that when something comes up and then the next one is coming and the next one and next one, that a lot of people are saying like, stop, I don't want to hear this anymore, I don't want to be aware of this, because there's too much. I will close the door and I will not look into this anymore, or any further. For me, like, therapy or sessions are over for me, because I don't want to be aware of those. But it is the entire thing. It is actually a good sign that these are coming up, because they want to leave your system.
Exactly. They're ready to be addressed.
Yes. So please do not suppress them, because then you'll hold them and you keep them for, in your body system, and might even come out into a physical problem that Tamalla, have mentioned earlier in this video. If you have anything that comes up to the surface, just let them come up, because then you are aware and you know what to address, and then you can transform it into something new, into something positive, and then you are able to create a new future.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you. So Tamalla, thank you very much for your insights. I've been very quiet today, but I loved it. It gave me a lot of information, and I hope for you listeners as well. Please like and subscribe our videos. We also have our own YouTube channel called Two Psychics No Limits. We do even have our Facebook page, where we also upload the same videos if you prefer to use Facebook. It's also called Two Psychics No Limits. Our email address is twopsychicsnolimits@gmail.com. If you would like to have a personal reading with Tamalla or with Zed, with any of the archangels, manifestation course, I can tell you it's an amazing thing, 6 months only. Sound treatment, please let Tamalla know at info@yourownsoul.com. Her website is yourownsoul.com. And if you would like to have a personal reading with my own team, Carla, for your mental health, becoming self-aware and self-conscious, or any other spirit that I'm channeling, please let me know at channeling info@channelingcarla.com. or website channelingcarla.com. Yes. All right, that was it.
Yay!
Yay, we made it. All right, see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.